The cold here was unlike anything Captain Elias had ever felt. The wind cut across the frozen plains of Zithra 9, a planet at the very edge of explored human space. His boots crunched against the thick layer of ice, and every breath came out in white clouds, quickly snatched away by the biting air. The scanners on his suit were going crazy, detecting an unusual heat signature somewhere ahead, a tiny flicker in a world that should have been empty. Elias squinted against the glare of the sun reflecting off the ice and trudged forward. He had been part of countless exploration missions, but something about this planet felt different. The silence was heavy, almost alive. Then he saw it. A small shape lying motionless across the snow, partly covered in frozen dust. As he approached, his heart quickened. It was a figure delicate and unlike any human he had ever seen. Her skin shimmered faintly, almost silver in the light, and her eyes, huge and round, reflected a deep intelligence even in her current state of stillness. She was alive, but just barely. Every second counted. Elias didn't hesitate. He activated the portable thermal field in his suit, wrapping her in its warm glow. Her body was cold to the touch, trembling with a weakness that no technology alone could fix. He lifted her gently, careful not to hurt her, and felt a tiny shiver run through her limbs against his chest. She seemed to instinctively lean into him, as if she already knew that warmth could save her. Back at the base, the medical bay was ready. Machines hummed and lights blinked as the team worked to stabilize her. The alien girl, still silent, clutched at Elias instinctively, curling into him as if his arms were the only thing holding her life together. Dr. Meera Patel, the team's xenobiologist, examined her with fascination. "Her species is fascinating," she murmured. "From what I can tell, they evolved in much warmer climates. Their bodies aren't built for cold at all. But something about her physiology, responds to human warmth in a way I've never seen before." Elias glanced down at the girl, whose eyelids fluttered as she slowly regained consciousness. She made a soft sound, almost a hum, and turned her head toward him. Her gaze was steady, curious, and there was a hint of fear, but also trust. "Hello," Elias said gently, unsure if she could understand him. "I'm Elias, you're safe now." She tilted her head, her eyes studying him carefully. There was a long moment of silence, broken only by the hum of the machines. Then she made a tiny gesture with her fingers, pointing at the thermal field wrapped around her. Elias understood immediately. She was asking for warmth. Without a word, he adjusted the device, letting its gentle heat surround her even more. She leaned closer, resting her head against his shoulder, and for the first time a faint smile touched her lips. It was small, almost imperceptible, but it carried a powerful message. She trusted him. The rest of the team watched silently. There was no panic here, only quiet fascination. This was not just another rescue mission. It was something far rarer. A creature from a completely unknown species surviving on the edge of human exploration had instinctively turned to them, not out of obligation, but trust. Hours passed, and slowly, she began to respond. Her body warmed, her breathing steadied, and her eyes, wide and luminous, darted around the room. Everything was new to her, and yet she seemed to understand in some instinctive way that these humans meant no harm. Elias sat beside her, keeping the warmth steady. He spoke softly, telling her about Earth, about human missions to the stars, about how they meant no threat. She listened, sometimes tilting her head as though she was trying to understand, sometimes closing her eyes and leaning closer. It was during one quiet moment that she finally spoke. The sound was faint, musical, almost like wind chimes, but the translation device in the room immediately recognized it. "My name is Leora," she whispered. The room fell silent. Even the machines seemed to pause. Leora, a name, a beginning of communication, a bridge between her world and theirs. Elias smiled gently. "It's nice to meet you, Leora. I'm glad you're here." For the first time since the crash, she relaxed completely, letting her small body sink into his arms. Outside, the cold winds of Zithra 9 blew relentlessly, but inside the medical bay there was warmth. Not just from the machines, but from human presence, human care, and something else, something Leora seemed to understand instinctively. That warmth, in every sense, could save her. And so, on the edge of a frozen world, an alien girl found her first safety not in machines, not in shelter, but in the arms of a human. Elias realized then that this mission would be unlike any other. Not just exploration, Not just discovery, but a story of trust, connection, and the quiet, extraordinary power of being human. The first night in the human base passed slowly. Leora, the alien girl, stayed close to Captain Elias, instinctively pressing against the warmth of his body. She slept little, eyes fluttering open at every sound. Yet she seemed calmer than when he had found her in the frozen wasteland. The hum of the life support systems and the soft glow of the thermal fields became a rhythm she could trust. Elias sat beside her bed, quietly observing her as she adjusted to the strange environment. Her skin shimmered faintly, a soft light that pulsed with her breathing. Even in this alien form, there was a grace to her movements, a subtle intelligence in every glance. Humans had met other species before, but there was something different about Leora. She seemed to understand more than the words she could speak, responding to care and attention in ways that were almost human. Dr. Mira Patel leaned against the doorframe, her arms crossed. "She's remarkable," she said softly. "Look at how she responds to warmth. Not just thermal, but emotional warmth. She seeks it, needs it. That's very unusual for a species so far from humans in evolution." Elias nodded. "She survived in freezing temperatures for hours with nothing but instinct. That alone shows resilience. But there's something more. She trusts me. I don't think we've earned that trust with anyone else in the galaxy before." The alien girl stirred and opened her large eyes. When she saw Elias, she reached out a trembling hand. He took it gently, letting her squeeze his fingers in a gesture that seemed natural even if foreign. It was a silent conversation. "A bridge built without words, do you understand me?" Elias asked quietly. Leora tilted her head, considering him. Then with slow precision, she touched his arm, tapping a small pattern into his suit. The translation device picked up her symbols and a line of text appeared. Cold. Danger. Warmth. Safe. Elias smiled gently. "Yes, you're safe now. No more cold. No more danger." Her eyes seemed to brighten, the tension in her shoulders melting slightly. She leaned closer and Elias felt the warmth of her tiny body mix with his own. It was a simple, unspoken connection, yet it carried more meaning than any conversation could. In that moment he realized that humans' ability to care, to offer comfort without expectation, was a strength beyond technology or weapons. The next morning, Leora began to explore the base. She moved carefully, her movements graceful but cautious. Every surface fascinated her, the smooth floors, the glowing screens, the quiet hum of machines. She reached out to touch everything, sometimes tilting her head as if trying to understand the purpose behind it all. Elias followed her, giving her space while remaining close. "You can look around," he said. "Everything here is safe. You can ask questions if you want." Leora paused at a display showing a map of nearby star systems. Her fingers hovered over the holographic projection, tracing the lines and dots that represented planets and trade routes. She tilted her head toward Elias and tapped again on the translation device. The words appeared: home. Lost, far. Elias's heart tightened. She missed her home, the warmth and comfort of her planet, but she also seemed to trust them enough to stay. "We'll help you," he said softly. "We'll find a way for you to see your home again." As the day passed, Leora slowly warmed to the humans around her. She interacted with the team cautiously, sometimes observing quietly, other times reaching out in small gestures of curiosity. She mimicked human actions, like handing tools back when asked or pointing to objects she wanted to explore. Her intelligence was obvious, but so was her emotional awareness. She noticed when someone was tense or tired, and her presence seemed to calm them. At one point, Dr. Patel demonstrated a simple experiment with a thermal gel that changed color with heat. Leora watched intently, then pressed her hand against it. The gel turned a bright hue, and she let out a small, delighted sound. Elias laughed softly. "She's learning fast," he said. "Not just language, but understanding the world around her." By evening, Leora had discovered a quiet corner of the base where the thermal fields were strongest. She curled up there, her small form radiating heat, and invited Elias to sit beside her. He did, resting his hand gently on her shoulder. The warmth between them was more than physical. It was trust, comfort, and a shared understanding that they were allies in a universe that could often be cold and indifferent. Elias watched her, thinking about how fragile life could be, yet how strong trust and empathy made it. Humanity had always been known for its curiosity, its determination, but perhaps their greatest gift was their ability to care. Leora's survival was proof of that. a living testament to a truth that stretched beyond the boundaries of species or planet. Warmth in every form could save lives. And as the stars turned silently above the frozen plains of Zethra 9, Leora rested for the first time in days, safe in the arms of a human who had given her more than warmth. He had given her hope. The next morning, the base was quiet except for the soft hum of machines and the occasional crackle of a monitor. Leora sat near a window, her large eyes fixed on the icy landscape outside. The frozen plains stretched endlessly, shimmering in the pale light of the distant sun. She tilted her head as if trying to understand the vastness, and Elias joined her, taking a seat beside her. "You're safe here," he said gently. "Nothing can hurt you. The cold is gone and you don't have to worry about anything." Leora's gaze shifted to him, then back to the window. She made a small sound, musical and soft, and pressed her hand against the glass. Elias noticed how her fingers left faint warmth trails on the surface, tiny glimmers of heat against the cold. She was fascinated by the ice, the way it reflected light, and by the human technology around her. Dr. Patel entered the room with a tablet in her hand, excitement in her eyes. "We've managed to calibrate the translator better," she said. "It should pick up more of her words now. Maybe we can actually talk." Leora's ears, slender and slightly pointed, twitched as the device hummed softly. She studied it with curiosity and then tapped her small fingers on the surface. Words appeared on the screen, though broken and fragmented. Lost. Cold, friend. Warm, human. Elias smiled, kneeling closer. "I am your friend," he said. "You are safe with us. We will help you." She tilted her head, processing the words slowly. Her large eyes softened, and for the first time she smiled more clearly. It was a shy, hesitant smile, but it carried warmth that no machine could replicate. Elias realized that this was more than translation. It was understanding, a bridge between two very different beings. Over the next few hours, Leora began to experiment with the translator. She tapped, swiped, and pressed in patterns, slowly forming small sentences. Warm, help, understand, human, world. The team watched in awe as her mind connected with the device. Even in this frozen alien place, her intelligence shone brightly. Dr. Patel knelt beside Elias. "She's incredibly fast at learning," she whispered. "Not just language, but understanding concepts. She knows we mean no harm, and she's already learning to communicate in ways we can understand." Leora then pointed at Elias and tapped, "Human. Warm, safe, hug." She pressed herself closer to him instinctively, seeking the warmth that had saved her life. Elias wrapped an arm gently around her shoulders, letting her lean in. "Yes," he said softly. "You're safe. You're with friends." The afternoon passed with small lessons. Elias showed her simple objects, a cup, a pen, a data pad. Each time, Leora repeated the words slowly into the translator, her voice soft but deliberate. She even tried to mimic some human gestures, pointing, nodding, and occasionally reaching out with a shy smile when she understood something. Later, they moved to a larger room with a holographic map of nearby star systems. Leora's eyes widened as she studied it. Her fingers hovered over the planets, tracing paths between stars and glowing dots. When she touched a cluster, the translator picked up her voice. Home. Fart, help. Human. Warm. Elias sat beside her, explaining slowly. Your home is far, yes, but we will find a way to help you return. You're not alone here. We are your friends, and we will take care of you until then. For a long time, Leora simply stared at the stars on the map, silent but thoughtful. Then she pressed her hand against Elias's arm and whispered, Human. Friend, warm. It was more than words. It was a connection, a silent understanding that humans had given her life not just through technology, but through care, through warmth, through trust. She had learned quickly that humans were special in ways that went beyond strength or speed. They offered something deeper, something her species had rarely encountered, genuine empathy. Elias looked at her and smiled. You've already learned a lot, he said. And you've taught us something too. That warmth, friendship, it's powerful. It can save lives. As evening fell, Leora explored more of the base with cautious curiosity. She touched walls, instruments, and even the thermal devices that kept her safe. Each discovery made her hum softly, a sound that seemed like music to the human ears. And every time she approached Elias, she sought the same comfort she had found the first night, the warmth of a human's embrace, steady and reliable. By the end of the day, she had begun to form simple sentences: warm human, safe, help, home. The words were basic, but the meaning was clear. She was learning, adapting, and beginning to trust fully. Elias realized that she would survive not just because of technology, but because humans had something unique, something that no scanner or device could replicate: care, empathy, and a willingness to protect life. As the stars turned slowly above the frozen plains, Leora curled up near Elias once again, the warmth of her tiny body mixed with his own, a quiet testament to the connection forming between them. It was more than survival now, it was friendship, understanding, and the first real step toward bridging the gap between their worlds. And in the soft glow of the base, the alien girl smiled again, knowing that she had found not just warmth, but trust and hope in the arms of a human. The wind outside grew stronger as the day progressed. Scifi 9 was never a quiet planet, but today it seemed as though the cold itself was alive, swirling across the plains in sharp, twisting gusts. Inside the base, alarms beeped softly, warning the team of an approaching ice storm. The temperature outside was dropping faster than usual, and visibility would soon be near zero. Elias checked the readings on his suit. "The storm will hit in a few hours," he said, looking at Dr. Patel and the rest of the team. "We need to make sure everyone stays safe and that the base systems can handle it." Leora, sensing the tension, moved closer to Elias. Her small hand found his, pressing lightly against his arm. Her body trembled not from fear, but from the cold that even the base's outer walls could not fully block. Elias knelt beside her, wrapping an extra thermal blanket around her. "It's going to be okay," he said softly. "We'll stay inside. Nothing can touch us here." The storm hit earlier than expected. Outside, sheets of ice whipped against the reinforced windows, blurring the world into a frozen white swirl. The hum of the base's machinery grew louder as it worked to stabilize temperature and air pressure. Leora watched the storm with wide eyes, pressing herself closer to Elias. Every gust seemed frightening to her, yet she found calm in his steady presence. Dr. Patel adjusted the thermal controls, but even the most advanced technology could not completely replicate the warmth of living beings. Elias realized that Leora relied not just on machines but on human warmth for comfort and survival. He held her hands between his, letting his body heat flow to her, while the rest of the team gathered around, creating a human shield of warmth and support. Hours passed, and the storm showed no sign of letting up. Leora, usually quiet during the day, began humming softly, a musical sound that seemed to rise above the howling winds. It was as if her body responded to warmth and care, not just to temperature. Elias leaned closer, noticing that her color, soft silver, had begun to glow faintly, a subtle response to the comfort around her. "She's amazing," Dr. Patel said quietly. "Even with temperatures that should be dangerous, she's not freezing anymore. She's using our warmth to survive. It's remarkable." Elias nodded, watching Leora carefully. She looked around the room, touching the walls, the machines, and the other humans' hands in small gestures of curiosity. Each touch seemed to stabilize her further, and the connection between human and alien was clear. In a way, they were learning from each other. She adapted to their environment, and they learned how to care for her in ways that went beyond technology. When the lights flickered briefly under the strain of the storm, Leora's large eyes widened. She clutched Elias's arm instinctively, and he held her close, murmuring reassuring words. The team quickly stabilized the systems, but Elias noticed something extraordinary. Leora's presence, her warmth, seemed to help the base itself. The sensors recorded subtle energy shifts around her, almost as if she was harmonizing with the environment when supported by human touch. Dr. Patel stepped closer. "It's like she responds to trust and care the way humans respond to safety," she whispered. "Her biology might be entirely alien, but she thrives with warmth that's more than physical. Emotional warmth matters to her just like it does to us." The storm raged through the night. Outside, nothing moved, but inside the base, a quiet circle of humans and an alien girl stood against the cold. They talked softly, sharing stories of home, of faraway worlds, and of the warmth that connected them. Leora, who had barely spoken the day before, now repeated words through the translator. Safe. Human, warmth, friend, help. Elias smiled down at her. "Yes," he said softly. "We are your friends. Joe." You are safe here. We'll get through this together." She leaned her small head against his shoulder, and for a long moment they simply stayed there, listening to the storm outside. Every gust of wind, every scrape of ice against the walls was met with calm acceptance, because she had learned to trust humans in a way that went beyond fear or instinct. By morning, the storm began to subside. The ice that had battered the windows now sparkled in the dim light, and the team emerged to assess the minor damage. Leora stayed close to Elias, her small hands holding his as they walked. She looked up at him and whispered through the translator, "Warm. Human. Life. Safe." Elias's heart swelled. She had survived the worst cold she had ever known, not by alien technology or strength alone, but by trusting humans and receiving their warmth. In that moment, he realized the truth of something he had always suspected. Humans were special, not because of weapons or machines, but because of their ability to care, to protect, and to offer warmth, both physical and emotional, to anyone in need. Leora looked out over the frozen plains once more, but now her eyes held something new: confidence, trust, hope. She had discovered that even in a world of ice, humans could be a source of life, safety, and warmth. And in the heart of the storm, she had found a bond that no cold could break, a bond with a human who had given her more than safety. He had given her trust, understanding, and a quiet proof that warmth, in every form, could survive anywhere. And as the sun rose over Scifi 9, painting the frozen landscape in soft gold, Elias watched Leora smile again. She was safe, she was learning, and she was no longer alone. In the frozen silence of that alien world, warmth had become more than a temperature. It had become a symbol of hope, friendship, and the extraordinary power of being human. After the storm passed, the base was quiet but alive with activity. The team moved carefully across the halls, checking systems and recording data. Leora stayed close to Elias, her small hand brushing against his sleeve for reassurance. Her trust in humans had grown stronger after surviving the ice storm, and she seemed more confident in her movements and gestures. Dr. Patel was reviewing the readings from Leora's physiology. "She's amazing," she said quietly. "Her body adapts quickly to our environment, but it's clear she's still not designed for this planet. The warmth we provide her isn't just comfort, it's essential for her survival." Elias nodded. "She's strong and smart," he said, "but she's far from home. We need to figure out how to get her back safely." That afternoon, a faint signal came from the wreckage of Leora's ship, buried beneath layers of ice outside the base. The equipment had recorded a simple distress beacon, sending a pulse that indicated her species was nearby. Leora's eyes widened as she heard the tone. She looked at Elias, tapping the translator. "Home. Help. Family?" Elias placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "We'll get you home," he promised. "We'll make sure your people know you're safe." The team began to work on a rescue plan. The storm had made travel outside the base dangerous, but with careful preparation, they could reach the ship and relay the signal to Leora's people. Leora helped in her own way, pointing out parts of the ship she remembered, tapping patterns into the translator that showed where energy sources might still be functional. Her intelligence and memory impressed the humans. "She's helping us," Dr. Patel whispered. "Not just surviving, but guiding us. It's incredible." The next day, the team prepared an insulated rescue pod to carry the signal device. Leora followed closely, watching the humans assemble tools, run checks, and review maps of the surrounding ice fields. She mimicked some of their gestures, handing small parts or pointing to areas that needed attention. Elias smiled at her careful attention, noting how quickly she adapted to human methods. When everything was ready, Leora climbed into the pod, and Elias knelt beside her. "Are you ready?" he asked gently. She nodded, her hand pressing against his. The translator picked up her words. "Yes." "Warm, safe, human," Elias smiled. "You'll be safe," he said. "We'll send your signal, and soon your people will know where to find you." The pod lifted from the base, insulated and powered by both technology and careful human planning. Leora leaned slightly against the side, feeling the warmth of the pod and the memory of Elias's presence. She hummed softly, a sound of comfort and confidence as the team monitored her from inside the base. Hours passed, and the signal strengthened. Finally, a response came, a gentle melodic transmission that confirmed Leora's people had received her call. They were on their way, sending coordinates and instructions for a safe rendezvous. Leora's eyes sparkled with relief. She looked at Elias and whispered through the translator, "Home. Soon, thanks." Human, warm. Elias felt a swell of pride and emotion. Humans had built the pod, navigated the ice, and used their care to ensure her survival. But more than that, he realized that their empathy, patience, and trust had made the difference. Leora had thrived not just because of technology, but because of the warmth humans gave freely. Dr. Patel smiled at the scene. "She's learned from us and we've learned from her. It's mutual." As the day went on, Leora explored the pod once more, touching the controls, the walls, and the small observation window. She asked questions through the translator, pointing to stars and distant planets. Elias answered patiently, explaining in simple terms about the galaxy, other humans, and the planets they had visited. Each answer brought a small smile or a soft hum from Leora, her curiosity endless. Finally, the rescue ship appeared in the sky, sleek and luminous, moving toward the base with gentle precision. Leora's eyes widened with awe and recognition. She pressed her small hands together, tapping the translator. "Family. See, soon. Warm. Human." Elias knelt beside her, keeping her steady as the pod prepared to meet the ship. "They're coming," he said softly. "Your people will be here soon, and you'll be home." When the alien ship hovered above the base, Leora's family began descending carefully in smaller pods. She watched them with wide eyes, a mixture of joy and cautious wonder. She reached for Elias instinctively, pressing her hand against his. Through the translator, she whispered, "Thank you." "Warm. Human. Safe." Elias smiled, holding her hand until the first of her people reached the ground. "You're welcome," he said gently. "Take care of each other." As Leora reunited with her people, the humans watched with quiet satisfaction. They had not only helped her survive, but had built a bridge of trust, warmth, and understanding across species. The alien girl's happiness was a testament to the extraordinary qualities humans could offer: empathy, patience, care, and a willingness to put life before everything else. Leora turned one last time toward Elias, giving a small, luminous smile before joining her family. In that moment, it was clear. Humanity had made a difference not through force or speed, but through warmth, understanding, and the quiet power of being human. The alien ship hovered silently above the base, its smooth surface reflecting the pale light of Zithra 9's sun. Leora's people had begun landing their smaller pods, moving gracefully toward the human team. The scene was quiet but filled with an unspoken tension, the kind that comes before a farewell. Elias stood near the pod where Leora had spent the past few days, watching her carefully. Leora's large eyes moved from Elias to her people and back again. She looked excited, relieved, and a little hesitant. The translator on her wrist softly relayed her words. "Home. Family. Safe. Human. Warm. Goodbye." Elias knelt down to her level. "You're going home," he said gently. "Your family is here. They've come for you." She hesitated for a moment, pressing her small hand against his chest, feeling the warmth that had kept her alive through the cold storms. Her eyes glimmered with emotion. Elias understood immediately. She didn't want to leave, not because she didn't want to go home, but because she had learned that humans could give something special: comfort, trust, and friendship that she had not experienced before. Leora leaned slightly forward and whispered again, "Thank human." "Warm. Safe." Elias smiled, his heart swelling. "You're welcome," he said softly. "You taught us something too, that trust and warmth can be stronger than any storm." Her people reached the pod, their movements graceful and careful. They looked at the humans with quiet curiosity, recognizing the kindness that had been given to Leora. One of them, taller and shimmering with silver light like Leora, stepped forward and spoke through the translator. "We are grateful. Your care has kept our child safe." Dr. Patel nodded, returning the gesture. "She's a remarkable girl. She trusted us, and we did our best to protect her." Leora's small hand moved from Elias's chest to his arm. She get him gently. A brief but meaningful embrace that communicated everything words could not. Her warmth seeped through, a tangible echo of the trust and comfort they had shared. Elias held her carefully, feeling the same quiet connection he had felt since the first night he had found her on the frozen plains. Then, with a soft murmur, she stepped back slightly, holding her family's hands. Elias watched as the reunion unfolded, her people surrounding her, their movements fluid and elegant, their eyes full of love and relief. Leora looked back once more at Elias, pressing a hand to her chest in a gesture that meant more than thanks. It meant remembrance. The humans and aliens exchanged nods, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that had formed. Elias felt a deep sense of pride. Humans had done more than save a life. They had created trust, friendship, and understanding across species. Leora's survival was proof that empathy, care, and warmth could make a difference even on the edge of a frozen world. The alien leader, Leora's parent, spoke again through the translator. "Your species is extraordinary. You have given warmth that no machine or technology could replace. You have shown trust and care. Our child will not forget," Elias nodded. "We will not forget either," he said softly. "She taught us that understanding and patience are as important as science or technology." Leora squeezed his hand once more before letting go. She climbed into her parents' arms and the group began moving back toward their ship. She turned once more, a final glance that carried the weight of friendship, trust, and gratitude. Then, with a small wave, she disappeared into the ship, leaving a warm memory behind. The humans watched the alien ship rise into the sky. Dr. Patel let out a small sigh, a mixture of relief and wonder. "She's safe," she said, "and she's taking a piece of us with her." Elias leaned against the base wall, his mind reflecting on the past few days. They had faced freezing winds, storms, and the unknown, but it was never technology alone that had kept Leora alive. It was human warmth, patience, and care, things that could not be measured by scanners or recorded in reports. They had shown that even across vast differences, trust and empathy could bridge worlds. For a long moment he closed his eyes, remembering the small alien girl who had found warmth in his arms. He remembered the way her large eyes had looked up at him during the storm, the way she had learned quickly, and the soft hum she made when she was comfortable. It was a reminder that humans had qualities that were extraordinary in the universe. Not strength, not speed, but the ability to connect, protect, and care. As the sun began to set over the icy plains, casting long shadows across the base, Elias felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. Leora was home. Her people were grateful, and humanity had once again proven something remarkable, that even in the coldest, most distant places, their warmth could create life-saving bonds. The base grew still, the day ending in peace. Elias knew that this story would stay with him forever. He had witnessed the power of trust, friendship, and warmth, and he knew that humans had a unique gift in the universe, something that could not be replicated, something that made them extraordinary among the stars. And somewhere far above the frozen plains, an alien girl glowed softly in the arms of her family, carrying with her the memory of a human who had given her life, warmth, and hope. The stars sparkled like diamonds in the dark sky above Zithira 9, their light reflecting off the icy plains in gentle silver glimmers. The alien ship had departed hours ago, carrying Leora and her family back to their distant home. The humans stood on the base's observation deck, watching until the tiny specks of the ship disappeared into the vastness of space. A quiet sense of peace filled the air, mixed with wonder at what had just occurred. Elias leaned against the railing, remembering the first moment he had found Leora on the frozen plains. She had been so small, so vulnerable, yet so brave. He could still feel the warmth of her hands in his, the quiet trust she had placed in him, and the bond that had formed in those few days. It was more than friendship. It was a connection that crossed species, a proof that humans could make a difference in ways that went beyond technology or strength. Dr. Patel joined him, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "She's home now," she said softly. "And we did more than save her. We built something that will last." Elias nodded. "She will remember us just as we will remember her. And maybe in time, her people will remember humans as beings capable of warmth and care, something no machine could ever replace." The team had spent the following days preparing the base for the return journey. Data about Leora's physiology and the ways humans had helped her adapt to the cold were recorded carefully. Every observation was a testament to the extraordinary qualities that had allowed humans to make a difference in an alien world. Patience, empathy, and trust had turned survival into a story of hope. Weeks later, a signal reached the human colonies, an invitation from Leora's people. They had established a small research outpost on a nearby planet, and they wished to meet the humans who had saved their child. Elias, Dr. Patel, and a small team traveled to the coordinates, curious and excited. When they arrived, they found a settlement built with elegance and care. Leora's people moved gracefully among their crystalline structures, their eyes bright with recognition. Leora herself ran forward, her small form glowing faintly as she embraced Elias once more. This time it was not out of need or fear, but of joy. She had come to understand humans in a new way, friends, protectors, and partners. The alien leader stepped forward, speaking through the translator. "Your species has shown a remarkable gift. You give life and warmth where there is none. You teach trust without expectation. We will remember this forever." Elias smiled. "We learned from her too," he said gently, "that even across worlds, friendship and care can change everything." Over the following days, the humans shared stories of their home, their missions, and their lives in the stars. Leora's people listened, fascinated by humans' resilience and empathy. They asked questions about Earth, about the ways humans face challenges, and about how they had managed to survive in a universe that could be harsh and indifferent. Dr. Patel noticed something remarkable. The alien children began imitating the humans' gestures, small acts of kindness and care. Leora laughed, clapping her hands in delight, showing them that warmth and trust could be learned and shared. In that moment, Elias realized that humanity had left a mark, not just on one life, but on an entire species. Before leaving, Leora pressed her small hands against Elias's chest once more. The translator picked up her words: warm, human, friend, life, hope. Elias held her hands gently. "And you are our friend," he said softly. "You've given us hope too." As the humans departed, the alien settlement glowed softly under the distant sun, a place alive with curiosity, learning, and connection. Elias watched from the shuttle, reflecting on the journey. In a universe so vast and cold, humans had proven something extraordinary. Their warmth, empathy, and willingness to care for others, no matter the species, had created bonds that transcended distance, language, and biology. Back aboard their ship, Elias looked at the stars stretching endlessly before them. "We make a difference," he said quietly to Dr. Patel. "Not because of our machines or weapons, but because of who we are." She nodded. "It's easy to forget sometimes in all the exploration and technology. But moments like this remind us what humans can really do: connect, protect, and care. That's our strength." Elias smiled, thinking of Leora, of her laughter, her curiosity, and the trust she had given them. He realized that humans had something unique in the galaxy, something more powerful than any engine or scanner: the ability to offer warmth, friendship, and hope where none existed before. And somewhere across the stars, on a distant planet warmed by the sun, an alien girl looked up at the sky. She remembered a human who had held her in his arms, who had given her warmth when she needed it most, and who had shown her that trust and friendship could survive even the coldest worlds. The galaxy was vast, and its challenges were many, but humanity's unique gift had been proven once again. In the end, it was not just survival that mattered, but the connections forged, the trust built, and the lives touched by simple acts of care. And as the human ship sailed toward the next adventure, Elias knew that somewhere out there, across the ice, the stars, and the vast emptiness of space, humanity's warmth was remembered, and it would continue to ripple across the galaxy.